I am so happy that I decided to drop a GoPro at my favorite fishing spot. Never in a million years thought I would see what we saw down there. Oh, there's fish on. Oh no. Dang it, guys. All right, folks, made a little bit of a move over here to this seawall and just cannot get these fish hooked up. I don't know if they're just pinfish or what, but I am just not able to get them hooked up right now. There we go. Oh my gosh, guys. That was a good one. Broke me clean off right there. All right, guys, and all we're doing today is taking this live shrimp, hooking it right through the tail right there, that last joint, and then we're just tossing it over as close as we can get it to this seawall. Just got a little bit of split shot on there. Don't want a lot of weight, just enough to get it pulled down to the bottom to where some of those bigger mangroves can get to it. There we go, fish on. Oh yeah, nice mangrove snapper there, guys. Nice mangrove snapper. We'll get a measurement on him and see if he falls in that 10-inch category that we need him to fall in. He is just over 10 inches. I think we can get one a little bit bigger than that. See you, dude. Oh, there we go, there's fish on. Another mangrove snapper, but not the right size. Another little mangrove, not big enough though. See you, dude. There we go, there's another fish. That one might be a little bit better, guys. Might be a little bit better mangrove. I think so. I think he is going to be a keeper variety. Simmer down, buddy. He is a 10-incher, but we're gonna let him go too. I want more up in that 11, 12-inch range, and I feel like they're there. Well, that did not take long to get a bite and get a fish on. Oh, it's a dolphin. Oh, like that was kind of scary. Easy, buddy, easy. First fish at this spot, and of course, Flipper immediately shows up. And he definitely got that one. I see it in his mouth. That one did not make it. Like, I threw that one completely away from him. Flipper still managed to eat him there. And that is not half-tail. That is a different dolphin there for sure. So he's just out there chilling, living his best life. All right, we got a fish on. Oh, it's a better fish. He needs to come on up before Flipper gets him. Flipper's definitely after him. Hi, Chihuahua. So guys, obviously the dolphin's not really what we need going on right now. They're always cool to see. I totally get it, but as far as like the well-being of the fish that we're catching, they're not ideal, because he's hanging out right under the boat right here. I'm gonna try to keep him away from him. I think he didn't see it that time. That's good. So I threw the snapper over there. He's chilling right here. He did not see it. He is trying to figure out why I didn't give him a fish, but it's always cool to see the dolphins. I mean, for sure. I think he just spotted the one I threw back. Hopefully he wasn't disoriented, because if he was, Flipper gonna get him too. There's fish on. A little bit heavier. About the same size though. Same thing. There must just be Millions of these dudes down there. I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna do something I've been wanting to try for a little while. I'm gonna risk it for the biscuit, because I've been wanting to drop a GoPro down at this spot for a little while. So I think we're gonna tie on the DJI to the big heavy rig, and we're gonna drop it down and just see what we see. There's got to be thousands upon thousands of red snapper down there. Let's check it out. All right, guys, DJI Osmo is recording. We're gonna drop it down. Let's see. So as soon as the camera hits the bottom, no surprise here, red snapper absolutely everywhere. And then we start getting the surprises pretty quick. First off, I thought what this structure was right here was some kind of rock or natural bottom. We're going to discuss in a minute, because I found out later that it was not. That fish right there in the bottom left hand corner, we're going to discuss that here in just a minute, because I thought I knew what it was, but then the more I watched the video, I realized I really didn't know what it was. So we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. The one bad thing about dropping these GoPros is you really have no control over them, because they're just dangling on the end of a fishing line. That's going to be a trigger fish right up there above that structure. This right here is really cool, because if you guys remember back in the spring, I caught a very rare fish for our area. I caught a cubby ewe, and that's what these dark fish that you're going to see repeatedly in this video is. Saw his top right there. Obviously more red snapper, little glimpse of our mystery fish. This is one of the smaller cubby ewes, and then two red snapper looking like they were about ready to go jumping, but then had a change of heart right there. I will tell you guys, the cubby ewes were hands down the most aggressive fish with the camera of anyone. Really nice spots of the cubby ewe and of the red snapper right there. Going to come back around. That's a trigger fish tail. Got more red snapper off in the distance. The one thing I will say about doing this, it was really cool, because it'll definitely make me fish this spot a little bit different, because it seems like the bigger red snapper are up above this structure. They just don't seem like they're hanging on the bottom. It seems like mostly the smaller ones are down under the structure. And then when you look up above it, you can see right there, just above that structure, you got a spade fish swimming through, but you also got a couple really, really nice red snapper that are up and above that structure. The bouncing up and down right here, what you guys are seeing, that is strictly the boat, because it was just a little bit choppy on this day. This is the fish I'm talking about, guys, right there. We're going to back it up here and just show you guys that fish. At first I thought it was a soap fish, because that's kind of the vibes that it gives off. But then I got to thinking about it. You have to keep in mind the snapper that I'm catching at this spot are probably in that 10, 11, 12 inch range. That's what we've been catching most of. So I'm assuming that this fish right underneath of it is probably a 10, 11, 12 inch red snapper. That's just theoretically, that's the best way to tell. Obviously down at the bottom, you can't really, but if that's a soap fish, it is hands down the largest soap fish I've ever seen. That might be a state record soapfish right there, if we could ever hook into that dude. But not 100% sure what that was. Again, the cubby ewe playing right there in front of the camera. Some more red snapper off in the distance. Every time the camera turns around, you can really see, if you look close, there's red snapper that hang out all over just the bottom here, not just along the structure. Again, the cubby ewes, like I said, they were hands down the most aggressive fish with the camera, and you can see they are just staying on it nonstop. Loads of red snapper, just like I was expecting. That's our mystery fish again. Kind of looks like a soap fish, but if it is, it's a really, really big soap fish. And if you don't know what a cubby ewe is, they are more based in South America, but Chris Veche from over in Alabama was the one that ID'd this fish for me. I actually caught two of these early on in the spring, had no idea what they were. And just a really, really cool thing to capture them down there in their natural element. I've never caught them anywhere else in the bay other than on this spot. Here in just a minute, we're going to re-drop the camera. I've got it right now. The problem is you can't really tell where you're dropping it or what you're by. When I pulled it up and looked at the footage, I saw this piece of structure that you guys see every time the camera spins around. The problem was I didn't know if it was towards the back of the boat or if it was towards the front of the boat, or, maybe farther underneath or farther away. So there was really no way for me to tell exactly what we were looking at here. This is going to be our first indication that this is not a rock. Guys, I am pretty sure that this is some kind of small boat that was sunk out in the bay. Now, at first glance, because we were right up under it, you really couldn't tell. It looked like a rock. But now that the camera has shifted over a little bit and you got that one shot over the top of it, you could really see that it was some kind of vessel. This was kind of cool because the triggerfish were very skeptical of the camera at first. And then the longer the video goes on, I think they just got more comfortable with it being down there. And you'll see these triggerfish really get involved here in just a minute and come over and kind of play around in front of the camera. Cubby U, obviously, they did not care. They 100% wanted as much screen time as they could possibly get. But the thing that kept jumping out to me, guys, was these like big snapper hanging up over top of this vessel, which we ended up finding out what it was. Now here in a minute, when I drop the camera the next time, you guys are going to see we actually got really lucky and we dropped it in the right direction. So I did find out on that second drop, once I pulled it up and looked at it, that this was back towards the back of the Mako. So when I pulled it up and I dropped it the next time down, I actually dropped it about 3 foot farther forward than what I did the first time. And it's going to give you guys some really good views. Again, those little fish, those look much more like soapfish. Now this is on the next drop. I've redropped the camera. You guys can see we're a little bit away from it. Still tons of red snapper. The triggerfish were very active with the camera when I dropped it on this time, but this really gives you an idea now of looking over the top of that boat as the camera kind of bounces around a little bit here, that we were looking at a sunken boat and not just a rock down there on the bottom of the water. It really does amaze me that there's so many red snapper down there that they actually move away from the structure. These triggerfish just kept kind of popping the camera at this point. They were really intrigued by it at this point, and every time they would hit it. I don't know if they were fanning it with their tail or if they were actually going in and nosing it. The cool thing about the DJI is it stays on all the time, so there's a blinking red light on it, and I'm assuming that blinking red light was what was attracting these fish. We did have a very scary moment here in the middle. Obviously, we didn't know it was scary at the time, but you guys will see here in just a minute. It almost looks like something grabbed the camera and like shook it around. It might be right here, because I tried to get out as much as this, like the wasted footage that I could, because you know there's just some things it's just pointing in the wrong direction. But you can really see those bigger fish hanging out up over top of that. Yeah, right here. It looks like something is literally grabbing the camera and trying to shake it. Now, I don't know what that was. I don't know if maybe, I would have assumed that if a dolphin had gotten down there, we would have saw the dolphin at some point, but I'm just not sure. And I would think that if there was a dolphin down there, these fish would be going crazy. Definitely could have been one of those Cubby U, because they were not all about having that camera down there and in their frame. That is for certain. Triggerfish coming back to play, but that guy right up there in the top left corner of the screen, that dude right there is just a hoss of a red snapper. And if you look right there at the top left screen, you can kind of see him compared to everything else. That's a pretty decent sized red snapper right there, I do believe. But if we could hook into that dude, that's what we're gonna do. The advantage of doing this now, like I was saying earlier, is I feel like for those bigger red snapper, you might need to keep the bait a little bit farther up in the water column than what I was anticipating or what I was doing, because it seems like most of these smaller red snapper are hanging out right down and hugging the bottom. And then if you're right over top of the structure, it does seem like a couple of those red snapper that are up over that structure are much better fish than the one that are in that one big one right there, guys. He is just something else. Couple spadefish. I made the joke that as they swam by, I was sure I heard them say, "All hail Richie, the giver of freedom," because you guys know the Richie in a fish originated when Richie was trying to catch some spadefish. But that red snapper right there, that's the one we need to lay into, no doubt, during an open weekend when we can actually keep them, because that dude right there, he's a hoss and he is a good red snapper, definitely a keeper red snapper. No question. But as you can see kind of back in the distance, there's a couple bigger fish that are kind of swimming around up over top of the structure, which we found out was a boat. I don't know what kind of boat. It could be a kayak, like a wide kayak. I don't really know how they would have gotten a kayak to sink, because they're very buoyant, obviously, unless they just found a way to fill it with rocks or concrete or something like that and seal that in and have it down there. Could be just a very small, like 10 foot, definitely not a John boat because it has a full bow on it. But it could be a little like 10 foot 10-foot boat that's just kind of sunk down in there. But again, guys, just exactly what I expected with the little red snapper. I mean, as you guys have seen on many, many occasions, we catch a ton of red snapper here. The one thing I did not see that really, really shocked me was no mangroves, no black snapper whatsoever on this spot, which is really weird because I used to fish this spot all the time. It was one of my, and catch black snapper, mangrove snapper. It was one of my go-to spots for if I wanted to go out and, you know, I wrapped up a video and I just wanted something to take back to the house and cook. This was one of my go-to spots to actually go back, stop by and just pick up a limit of black snapper, mangrove snapper, just really, really quickly. And as you guys can tell by this footage, there was never a single time where I saw a mangrove swim through. Now, I will say a little bit later on that there was mangroves down there, but it was because I was just kind of watching the back of the camera and couldn't really tell what I was seeing. A couple times I thought some of these cubby U's that I saw were actually the mangrove snapper, but they were not. Definitely not mangroves down there, or not that I saw. If they were, they could have been hanging out back behind the structure on the other side. The camera obviously spooks some of the fish away. Some of them get really comfortable with it. I was actually fishing the entire time that this was down there. I was really, really hoping that at some point we would get a hookup on, oh, that was really cool. I just realized, is that a pork fish? Is that what just swam through? Guys, I think that is. I think that is a little pork fish right there. I have never seen one of those before, but 100% I think that right there is a little pork fish. I have never caught those in the bay before. I've never caught one, period, but I'm 99% sure that that's what that is right there, just above the structure right there, that little silver, black, and yellow. That is really cool. I didn't even see that the first time I watched this through. That was a neat little find right there. I would love to catch a pork fish off this spot. The problem is those red snapper are so aggressive. When that bait gets down there, none of these other fish really have a lot of time whatsoever to get in there and get after the bait, because there's just so many red snapper. It just gobs and gobs and gobs, which is great for the fishery. These dudes are eventually going to grow up and get bigger, but this is just kind of show you guys that there are a ton of them down there. Last thing I'll mention that really caught me off guard. You guys have been suggesting that we do this forever, and one of the reasons we haven't done this is because I was not expecting to be able to see. This is about 40 foot of water, so I was really thinking that it would be pitch black down there and dark. I just wasn't taking into account that the light was going to shine down in there as well as it did. Obviously the water's a little bit murky, but it's nothing crazy. But you can really see. I mean, you take that fish right there, it's probably 20-25 yards out. So you got really good visibility. It's obviously it's not going to be as clear as what it is if you drop down in blue water or something like that offshore, but that's just a natural, you know, bottom that we're fishing right here in the bay. It's not going to be that clean. Got a lot of fish working around the structure, kind of stirring up sand, debris, and different things. But overall, I was extremely happy with how it turned out, being able to see everything we were able to see, dropping this camera down at one of my favorite fishing spots. Now, obviously, I knew there was going to be fish down there. I just don't know that I was expecting that many. Like, I really thought when I dropped it down there, it was just going to be thousands upon thousands of red snapper. I was not expecting to see as many species as what we saw right there. Like that really did kind of catch me off guard. I don't know. I just was expecting it to be nothing but red snapper. There's obviously some mangroves down there, some triggerfish. There was a couple down there that I saw that I couldn't really get an identification on. I almost feel like I saw an eel at one point, but that also could have been a big thick piece of grass. So I'm really not sure, but man, that was cool. I know we didn't catch any like crazy fish today. Got into some mangrove snappers, got into some red snappers, of course. But I think the highlight of the day was dropping that camera down here. One of my favorite fishing spots, bar none. It's cool to see what was down there. I just wasn't expecting it to be that crystal clear. So man, that was cool. If you guys like that, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comment section down below if you like that type of video. I can definitely drop that camera down at some of these other spots out here, just to kind of see what's down there. This one I wasn't as concerned about because I knew that this was not anything my camera could get hung up on. Obviously there's a boat wreck that we fish over here, probably not going to drop a a camera down beside that, because it would get hung up and then the camera would be gone, and it's not worth all that. Make sure you guys give this video a great big thumbs up. It truly means the world to us. If you are new here, we would love it if you take a moment and smash that subscribe button. It is literally the cheapest thing you can do to help support your favorite creators. It does not cost you a penny. Just click on the button. If you're watching on television, you can click on the subscribe button now at the top of your television, so make sure you do that. Guys, as always, make sure you find a way to make somebody smile today. You never know. It just might change the world. Y'all take care, and we will see you on the next one.